So not only have we built 3 times more affordable homes than Boris Johnson, not only have we built 10 times more council homes than Boris Johnson, look at the rest of England. We are building twice as many council homes as the rest of England put together.
Since 2016, 65,000 affordable homes have been completed. Under your predecessor, it was 90,000.
Well, no, that's not right, because what's happened is this. Since 2016, more council homes, more generally affordable homes, more completions, more than twice the rest of the country put together. And what Keir Starmer came to our launch has announced is a real injection of money for genuinely affordable homes, and I can promise a big chunk of those are going to come to London.
Sorry, you go ahead.
I was just going to say we need to make sure that genuinely affordable is genuinely affordable.
Spot on.
Because a lot of the time that includes shared ownership, which we know from a lot of Londoners that isn't affordable. So we really need to look at what that definition of affordable means in the London plan.
Susan Hall, why won't you pledge rent control, given that the average rent in London in March was £2,600 a month?
Because it doesn't work. And the rents are far too high. I agree with that. We need more homes built.
It does work. It can work in London. If we had a rent commission full of renters that could keep an eye on the market and making sure it doesn't collapse, it could absolutely work in London. So
this is something we disagree on. There aren't enough properties out there to rent, and that is the issue.
Sadiq?
And that is the issue.
The reason why the Tories oppose rent controls or rent freezes is because they're in the pocket of landlords.
Well, so does your party, though. Your National Party opposes it too.
The number of Tory MPs who are landlords is staggering. My manifesto is quite clear. If I'm re-elected, 6,000 rent control homes, 40,000 council
We've got millions of people in London. That's going to make no difference whatsoever.
You don't have the power to bring this in.
I do have the power to bring in rent control homes. I've got the funding in relation to the 6,000 rent control homes.
That's got nothing to do with rent controls.
I've got 40,000 council homes, legal advice for free for those tenants who've got dodgy landlords, but also, importantly, all of them being a licensing scheme, really important for the quality of accommodation.
Tom,
Susan?
it's promise after promise after promise. After 8 years, look at the situation we're in now. All you ever do, Sadiq, is throw numbers out there that when people try and analyse them and look into them, you then throw another load of numbers out there. Nobody believes you anymore because you don't deliver.
Numbers, Susan Hall, because I've looked at your manifesto on
and
house
they won't
building.
and
there are 6 paragraphs on it.
Yeah,
you want to get pension funds to build more build-to-rent properties.
Yeah.
So how many does London have and how many more do you want?
Well, I've said all along, I won't give numbers. My manifesto, everything in there is deliverable. Everything in there is costed up.
What is deliverable about no number of homes?
Well, because I have sat by and listened to Sadiq Khan promising the earth for the last 7 years I've been on the Assembly. So I promised to do this and we've started that. I go back. You can't live in a start. It's all he ever does. He's had billions of pounds, billions from the government,
Hall, as
and
Mayor
he
of
does
London,
not deliver.
Will get pension funds to build an as yet unconfirmed number of build-to-rent properties.
Yes, because I'm not going to give you a number and not keep to it.
What's that good for Matt? How good is that for Matt and other renters?
In all honesty, what good is it when you just hear numbers thrown at you? You can't believe it because we've had so many numbers thrown at us from Sadiq Khan and he hasn't delivered.
Susan Hall, will you commit to
Yes, I did, and I actually committed to it before Sadiq Khan did. So there's no... I did, and that can be documented. That has been documented. I've agreed, yes, and it's going ahead for another year.
You're going to keep universal free school meals?
Yes, and when we look at the cost of living, perhaps we should remember that Sadiq Khan has put up council tax by 70% since he's been in.
We'll come to that in just a moment. You said relatively recently, though, didn't you, that you thought the idea of universal free school meals was wrong, that it would allow for the children of millionaires to receive a free school meal at the expense, perhaps, of children who would need it.
But nevertheless, I said I'll continue it.
So you've had a change of mind on this?
No, I said I'd go ahead with it. It's documented out there, the late last year, before Sadiq Khan said he would do it.
So you're not opposed to the principle of taxes paying for free school meals for already wealthy Londoners?
For children that need feeding, I would think that they should have a nutritional, high-quality meal. And that's what we've agreed to continue for another year.
How much does that cost?
140 million.
Sadiq Khan, you would continue this on for children in secondary school?
Well, congratulations, you've got the Tory candidate from a U-turn live on air.
No.
Let's be quite clear, because Zoe was there, as indeed was Rob last week, where I promised to extend free school meals permanently in primary schools if I'm elected, universal free school meals. And the Tory candidate said the phrase, there is no such thing as a free lunch. My promise, if I'm re-elected, is to ensure, as long as I'm mayor, every child that goes to a state primary school receives a nutritious free meal. And let me tell you the great news. I've been speaking to parents, teachers, experts over the last 7 months. Better attendance, better attentiveness, better productivity. Parents are less stressed, like Holly, because they know their child is eating a decent meal.
So what was it about what Sadiq Khan said last week that you now agree with, Susan Hall, on this question of free school meals?
I've said all along I would continue the policy. I've said that all along.
Last week you were telling, another broadcaster that you disagreed with the principle behind it.
I think the term free, I actually said there's no such thing as a free meal, and that's accurate. But I've said all along I would continue the policy. I agreed to it before Sadiq Khan did. Sadiq Khan was trying to get the government to pay for it. Before then, I had said, and it's documented, I'll get my team to find it for you. It was documented. I said I would continue it this year.
Rob Blackie.
Well, Liberal Democrats brought in free school meals for primary school children, so we're very pleased that the Mayor has decided to extend it. And of course, we support it because it's very important that kids get that proper meal and that people who are just above the free school meal line get more food. But to Akula's question, housing is a critical thing we've got to fix in London. Right now, the lack of house building is what's driving up rents and driving up mortgages for people, not helped by the Conservative Party mess of the economy. But in London, we've got to take control of our own destiny and build more.
Just so we complete the circle, do you want to take credit for the free school meals idea as well? I mean, everyone else has. We might as well.
We actually did it.
I want to speak to Holly's question about the fact that families are being priced out of our city. I've had a primary school close in my ward, and it was heartbreaking for the families to see hundreds of families leaving the city because they can't afford it. And I think this question really speaks to the heart of the city we want to live in. I really support universal free school meals for primary school children, and I would extend that to secondary school children. And my manifesto is full of ideas for how we make this city more affordable, because that's the people's side that I'm on.
Can I just ask, clearly a cost of living issue is seen most obviously in rough sleeping, on which we have seen a 71% increase since 2016. How's that happened under your watch? So
rough sleeping across the country has more than doubled since 2010.
And you're responsible for London?
Yeah, and in London, it breaks my heart what we've seen in London. We've managed to take 16,000 rough sleepers off the streets in London, a record amount. 75% have stayed up. There's a conveyor belt of new people coming on our streets, which is why...
Call them a conveyor belt.
Which is, well, I'm really sorry.
People that are experiencing extreme hardship.
As a consequence of being made homeless, as a consequence of benefit changes, as well for...
You see it as a conveyor belt?
The number of people coming into our streets is in record numbers. We've got to get them off our streets, which is why I've promised to work with councils, charities and communities.
That's what you said in your last manifesto. You promised to abolish homelessness.
We've taken 75% of rough sleepers off the street permanently. Across the country, you've seen a big increase. And that's why I was really pleased with those from the Shadow Cabinet to announce a policy to end rough sleeping by the end of this decade by dealing with the causes as well as the consequences.
You're shaking your head, Susan Hall.
A conveyor belt of people. These are the most vulnerable people in our city. The reasons they're on the street are so different. We've got people with mental health problems. We've got people that have fallen out with their families. We've got veterans. There are so many different causes for people being on the street. And you would
commit to taking people off the streets, ending homelessness by 2030?
Of course. And the thing is...
Where in your manifesto do you deal with this, Susan?
Can you I let you speak. Just have the courtesy to listen to me. The thing with people that are rough sleeping, the very best people... because I've spoken to them, are the charities like Street Angels, because the people that are homeless very often trust those people as opposed to...
It's not working.
By the way,
no, it isn't. And all he keeps doing is throwing money at it, because Sadiq thinks if you throw money at something, it will fix it, and it won't fix it.
I mean, if they had a universal basic income and had...
Oh, well, that doesn't work.
That really does work, but that's why we have fiscal policies that keep people in poverty.
And Labour, so we care about homelessness. They're not turning up to homelessness hustings tonight. They've been invited. They've decided to send along deputies.
True.
We've taken 16,000 rough sleepers off the streets of London. I'm incredibly proud to have done that. 3/4 have stayed off by our In for Good policies. You do a graph in relation to these people who are...
There's a conveyor belt of people, and you're not going to the hustings.
Rob and I are going, I think, just for the record.
Thank you.
Well, there are lots of hustings.
Is this a real serious issue? Is this a serious issue?
Absolutely. Which is
still time for you to change your mind.
Which is evidenced by the results over the last 8 years. The real prize is look at what happened in the noughties. where a Labour government working with a Labour mayor ended Cardboard City in Waterloo by taking rough sleepers off the streets, making sure they stayed off. We've already built 1,500 permanent homes for those rough sleepers. 3/4 are off for good. We're going to carry on making progress. And the prize this year, I call it a moment of maximum opportunity, a Labour mayor working with a Labour government finally ending rough sleeping. It's a scandal.
Can I just put this to you, Susan Hall? If you don't mind looking at the screen, there's a clip here from a senior Labour politician I'd like to play to you, if I may.
Frankly, it would be a global embarrassment for Britain if Susan Hall was elected as the Mayor of London. It would empower and embolden the anti-net zero, flat earth brigade across the world. And you know, I do want to make clear today in my support for Sadiq that because the Tories have changed the system for electing the mayor, you only get one vote, and a vote for anyone other than Sadiq risks letting Susan Hall in by the back door.
You're not calling Susan Hall a flat earther,
I am. I absolutely am.
Susan Hall, a response to that clip from the Evening Standard.
Well, the response to the clip from the Labour politician who is trying to advocate for Sadiq Khan, it's nonsense. The thing I say is that I approve of net zero, but not on the backs of those that cannot afford it. Sadiq Khan brought in the ULEZ expansion on the pretence it would clean up the air, and his own impact assessment said it would not.
You posted an article that said it was an absolute delusion that humans can control the climate with their CO2 emissions. Do you believe that?
No.
Why did you post it?
I don't know. I'd have to see what I actually posted. Sometimes
I think that's terrifying in the fact that we're in a climate emergency and you're trying to be the mayor of our great city.
No, I accept that we need to bring in net zero. I also say we can't bring it in off the backs of the poorest.
But it's not. And a lot of the things we do to address the climate crisis also address the cost of living crisis. If we insulate people's homes, we bring down people's bills, we bring down their emissions. And if we invest in a public transport system and get people out of their cars, we bring down emissions. That's climate leadership and taking the climate emergency seriously. We're seeing flooding.
Some nonsense in that clip, by the way, which is the idea of anyone really thinks Conservatives can win in London. And I'm not just saying this because I'm not a Conservative. I got this letter from the Conservative Party the other day admitting that they couldn't win in London, not even bold enough to say, please vote Conservative.
Well,
and I think that's like a sign that they've
well, that would be up to the voters, I think, Mr. Blackie.
There is no way he won't bring in paper money. He expected us to trust him on the expansion of the ULEZ, and that has brought so much hardship, it really has. People trusted him and he let them down. 60% of people in the consultation said, we don't want it. He ignored them. He put it in anyway. He will bring in paper mile. The evidence is there. If he really didn't want to, then they wouldn't have still had people working on it this year. £21 million of our money has gone into. Why is he spending £21 million of taxpayers' money, Londoners' money, if he's got no intention of bringing it in? He cannot be trusted, and we all know that. He goes back on what he promises.
What we now know on the ballot paper is the choice of cleaner versus polluted air. I'm quite clear in relation to being incredibly proud of policies to clean the air in London. Before my policies, there were thousands of children with stunted lungs forever, too many premature deaths in our city, too many adults with a whole host of health issues from asthma to cancer, dementia to heart disease. You've got doctors, you've got GPs, you've got professionals in respiratory care, you've got Great Ormond Street, all supporting my policy. The only people against it is Susan Hall and the Tories.
The flat earthers?
Well, I think some of the things Susan Hall has done on social media, amplifying, promoting.
Can we go back to paper mile? Because I love the way you want the conversation moved. The fact is, you will bring in paper mile, or you would not have wasted, surely, £21 million of taxpayers' money. You will bring it in because that's what you have decided is a good idea. Just as you decided the ULEZ expansion is what you wanted to bring in, and that is nothing but a tax. And the worst part about that is about the tax. It's taxing people that simply cannot afford it. Nobody should bring in taxes that just affect those that have the least amount of money.
If I was advising a campaign based on disinformation, misinformation and lies, I would say just because the Tory candidate supported the Garden Bridge, she wants to bring it back for £50 million more. I'd say things like because the Tory candidate supported water cannons, she'd bring them back if she was elected mayor. I said things like because the Tory candidate previously supported a Thames estuary airport, she's going to bring her back if she becomes the mayor. I don't believe in those sort of tactics though, Tom. I ain't going to do it.
Tom, he should be able to stand on his record and look at his record. It is absolutely abysmal.
On records.
In all areas.
You like to post calling Sadiq Khan a traitor rat. You made a baseless claim that he supported electoral fraud. You employed an Islamophobic trope about Londonistan. Is that the musings of a serious politician?
I have apologised for my social media a long time ago, and many times, and I have learnt from that. I rarely use.
What have you learnt?
I've learnt that you have to be very, very careful when you just flick on things without thinking twice about it. But I've apologised for that, and I've learnt.
They're not just hurty words.
And I've learnt from I have learnt from my mistakes.
Sadiq Khan.
Well, this is very serious because it affects me and my personal safety and my family's personal safety.
Would you feel safe in a London run by someone who tweeted and liked those things?
I'm very careful what I say now, and I've thought long and hard about this, Tom. I fought 3 council elections. I've fought 3 parliamentary elections. This is my 3rd mayoral election. The Tory candidate is the most dangerous candidate I fought against.
Well, I think that's an outrageous comment. And he would feel safer in a Susan Hall mayoralty, because I will do things for the police force that will make Londoners safer, much, much safer. Look at your record on safety in London. It's dreadful. This is the first time the Metropolitan Police has ever gone into special measures.
Going to come to that in just a moment.
Can I respond to your question?
Can I just make this point, though? Susan Hall, if you were to win in 8 days' time, and were Sadiq Khan to be in a position where he needed the security detail he's currently got, would you provide it? Would you pay for it?
It's not for the mayoralty, but absolutely, absolutely. And the one thing he has got to admit, I have never commented on his personal security, because if Sadiq needs personal security, then he should have it. Absolutely. And actually, that's for the police.
We've got to take responsibility as politicians of what we say, and our words can be incredibly damaging. And some of the stuff you've said has been really divisive and damaging. And I think just all of us as politicians need to take responsibility.
Which is why I've learnt by my mistakes that were done years ago.
Sadiq Khan, is there a question you would like to ask Susan Hall?
I think this is the greatest thing in the world. The diversity is one of the reasons why it's great. Do you regret supporting Donald Trump, who's a racist, sexist and homophobe? Do you regret liking Enoch Powell? Do you regret liking Lee Anderson, the Islamophobe? Will you apologise unequivocally for having those sorts of views and promise to be a mayor, if you win, that unites communities rather than your record of dividing them?
I do not divide communities. I support all communities. I come from Harrow, where it's the most diverse borough in London, I'd say. It's incredible. And actually, if you look at all communities... Are you going to
apologise or not?
No, if you look at all communities, we've all got the same values. We all believe in hard work. We all believe in family, and we all believe in fairness. And we should all look at people in that way. We've all got the same values.
No apology for Trump, for Enoch Powell or Lee Anderson.
Susan,
you're unfit to be the mayor.
We will give you the last word. Thank you all very much indeed. Rob Blackie, the Lib Dem candidate, Susan Hall from the Conservatives, Sadiq Khan of Labour, and to Zoe Garbett, the Green Party candidate as well.